Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on Upptalk. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say Upptalk. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you are new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
So today we are going to see other genies. So the quick find is one RPG. Similar to that, we have a number of genies here, which will give you details of many other items. If you click on a summary, it will give you the list of all the employees with their Blackboard label they have, what is their username, what is their man, who is their manager, what is their phone number, last totalization, blah blah blah. It's like I'm similarly like this. We have and number of genies here, which will give different column details based on what genie which you see. Somebody has named a labor code, username, email address, these perfectly data. If you go to maybe reconcile time card, this will give you name, like how much, like house they buy has bought, since it's at the same time, but you don't have anything. So the columns will differ for each genie. So if you go to maybe, that is a cool. Maybe upper 10 times this again. It's another genie which will have all the employees and it will show you whether the time card has been approved by the manager of Mark. If it is approved, it will show one Arctic mark here. And like whether he has any exceptions, it's time card, whether he has any absence of this particular week, previous paper. So these details will be available to this genie. So genies are like, it will give pull the employees with a different views. It's a specific program that is basically to see whose time card has been approved and whose time card has not been approved. If you go to sign off, this will again give you the same detail but an additional detail. So we know there are two types of approvals and the second level of 10th floor is sign off. It will update. Clicking month. Do you remember this? We saw it in our first session. Can you hear me? Is that I don't see more than the car. He has been stating that he can't hear. Give me 2 minutes. So, as I'm telling, I'm taking you through different genies. That is a math thing. It will give you all the employees' data, like how we signed a big friend by searching an employee, searching all the employees similar to who will find. So if you go to quick find in this system, big find gives you name, idea, and labor. But this plan, but there are other genies available. If you see scroll down, there are a number of genies available. These are specific details. I'll ask you if it is summary, it will give you more of a personal data for all the employees like labor account. What is this use? What is this email address? Who's this manager? Who is the manager assigned to them? And what? It's like a more of a personal ticket of details, like what we're like, where is what he goes, his manager, so on. So Jamie has a different approach. So if it is a summary, it will give you the personal data. And then there is another genie. It's just like a parole genie, which will give you whose time card is a product, whose time card is not approved. If you see here, it will give you. So, since it's a test and we will not be approving any of the results, but just for example, if this is a time period, we have selected all employees. So, this is again another thing which you need to know. All the owners will have this particular item in this place of hyper, fight all home, which will for you all the employees, which is available to the system. This is a complete list. Like there are other items which will give you specific group card, specific department or specific location implies that will be created or that will be available by default. But this is a mandatory one, although which will give you all the employees available to the system to this particular view. So this, if you see, this will give you whether the map I'm thought has been approved as blah, 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 blah. And there is another item which is sign off, which will give you a lot more additional details stating that whether it is just the signed off, like there are two levels of approval. So, if you remember in the first session, I have shown you one is the time card and one is signing off. So, this genie has some additional details. This is where the payroll people will come here and see before running their payroll. They will come and see whether all the employees are signed off. They need to go and check each one individually. They can come to this genie and they can click here, sort by this column. It will give them the details. So, since this is a test environment, we have not signed off only one people. For testing purpose, we have to add. But in a live environment, before that, a payroll cut-off time. If a payroll administrator comes and see here, he will see maybe one or two people who are not signed off. Others, all will be signed off by their markets. So instead of going each employee or running a report to see who is signed off and who is not signed off, this is the easiest way to check it off. So that's the purpose of Genie, to use the use of access. How easily we can see a data for an issue. We start with this Genie. So Genie is a different Genie. Like there are different Genie available, like the sign off. There is a pro somebody. Again, this will give you a kind of more overview with manager. Of course, sign off. And also in this particular paper, does anyone has access? And does anyone has, like, if you see, if you simply use a 5 days of access and whether the absence is excused or not, these extra details genies are basically with the head of a data use. Each genie will have different columns. And we can select a particular employee group or all employees based on this. Currently, we are going with all home to see all the employees, but there are different hyperfancy calls. This is hyperfancy. All home is a default type of find which will pursue the details of all the employees. Clear on this? What is Genie? How do you go to Genies from this? How do you come up with the tab? Just you need to click on the plus icon and click on Management. So now today, since we have seen what Genie is about, you can go through the system and see whatever level of the Genie is and what columns they give you. Sometimes one or two columns might be hidden. You can also enable that. Here, if you want to just few columns or like to say not pull somebody, I just need to see whether the content that's approved by manager, employee, signed up and unexcused. I know it's just a little exception. You can just take it out. It will go off. If there are some genies, you can download my P by default here that if you want to enable it, you can enable it. So that's all about the genies, how this is set up. You will go through while we are going to the setup to pay policy. So we have to go real, how this is being processed. But now we'll see. With respect to currently either, as it will do, these are hyperfines. We're going with all moments by select all the advice. I'll show you how we create these genies. Like, unlike all, there are different genies, like these employees, a default to 4, 4, 3, 4, 3, 3. So how we create it and how we add a condition to pick only specific employers. So to create a hyperfind, it is very simple. You are in this page. It can mean any genie. This or that, whatever it may be. If the easiest way to create is you can come here, you can click on New. It will take you to creating a new hyperfind. So you can show, you just need to come here, click on New. If you want, you can follow up with me. But give a different name in the query. So there will be three types of disabilities. One is add up, one is personal and perfect. If you create it as a personal, it will be only to you. When you log in, if you make it as public, whoever logs into this particular process, they will be able to see it. So now let's talk. Do people use ad hoc? Why do they use ad hoc if it's just for one time? They might have a real condition to check only these people. In that other condition, they need not to save it out. They will create it as an ad hoc. I just need to check how many people are assigned to this particular payroll and has this many accesses. That is the one-time request. I need not have that because if I keep on creating hyperfines and like these things each time I need a request, hyperfines will, maybe it will cross 200, 300 each time if I want to. So that's the most we use ad hoc. Makes sense? It's because the performance you use also. If you have too much in the system, again, it will slow down. And as I said, I'm creating on hyperfind. You are creating on a hyperfind. One thing that you are really unique, most importantly, is the idea of understanding and monitoring that. To add it to something interesting, it as a personal or public type. Now let me show you how to filter and by side of the condition. So now let me take a condition stating that I need employees. In this system there are, like we have only few labor levels. So let's say I need employees who work in Australia. If you see, here there are a number of employees. You're lucky to oscillate. You can see the second value. In labor account, Second value here corresponds to country. So I admit that is region. I need to see how many employees here belong to Australia. So I'm going to create a hyperfind. And maybe you can create it as an ad hoc because I'm going to give a specific name to that. You're going to give a same name to two hyperfinds. If you want, you can create it as a personal and you can see it. You can rather than public. Public means only one can be created to the same name. You can give us some fix and create with the same condition in a personal so that for your purpose you can see it. So I'm going to give a hyperfind name as Australia Lane implies. And the description. If I need to see something again, say I'm going to give the same thing and it's not mandatory. Also, you can maybe give some suffix to this so that you'll be able to create it. So first thing I need to find my condition is I need to see Australia and employees and only what I have to currently not who are in that you are terminated as often. So what I will do first thing is I'll go to TADA. There is an option for whatever. We saw the people tab. That items will be available here. Like the timekeeper, our name or ID, person dates, additional information, primary and phone, then the user information across these details will be available. So the first thing I'm going to choose is the employment status. So for me, he include people whose status is active, not inactive or terminated. I saw to. So this is my condition. He should be active as of today. So my condition is clear. I'm going to just click on add so that the condition is added. So employer is implied and working as of today. Just need to click on add so it will add you here. So the first condition is, my second condition is primary account. Second value should match region Australia. So by that only we are here. Secondary because second region is region. Second, a primary labor and second, it will give you all the items available in that. What I need is just Australia. I'll just give even if you're like in life and Brahman, there will be so many details. So in that place, you can just click on some words and then select. So that will give you only the items which you need. So I have clicked on Australia. Then I need to click on drag to the side. Once you drag to the side, then you need to click on add. So that primary labor account matches star. Second value should be Australia. Other values can be anything. First and other values, second, like first, third, fourth, sixth sound well. It's very maintained, but whoever is having the second value is Australia need to be pulled here. Do you have the conditions? Does it have to be in order or it could be any order? I mean, it can be any other. I'll just give you like in a proper approach how we create it. It can be any other. Like why I'm giving this as a first means. If it's not working, whether he belongs to Australia or not, it doesn't make sense. So it doesn't make sense. But even if this has first on this as a second, it is not going to change your results, but for a better understanding and taking it sequentially. And again, what I'm going to do is these are the two conditions currently. So once this is done, I need to see a self, the condition. I have selected Australia to deploy as done. I have given description. I have added both the condition, one as well as a username. Only thing I need to do is click on save. So now we have a hyperfind here which says Australian employees. And they have only people who belong to Australia as a second. By the way, so this is just not limited to this particular genie. You can use this to review any of this genie example. If you want to say approach summary, you can click on approach summary by default. So you go to all go. What you can submit so that it will give you only the Australian. It's a one-time creation and can be used across all the genes. Also, this is pretty useful in the area. They can export these columns, whatever is available here. If you want us an Excel mark with this genie, any genie. If you want this as an Excel, you can export. It is very easy. So let's say we are going to export it. Not all the device, just our same device. We need a report, which gives us these details. What is this label? For what is this name? What is this employee group? Whom he is assigned to? These details. What do we see? You want it as an optimal format. It is, just click on select all rows. Click on share. I'm going to click here. I'm selecting the hyperfind which I want. And also the time period. If you need it, you can choose a time period. So that if you go to previous paper, what was active on previous paper will be available. If someone is terminated in the last week, they will not be available. Kind of paper it. If you want them, you can go to previous paper. So I'm going with the current paper and just selecting all. Clicking on share. Export to, I just export to Excel. So then, whatever we see here will be pictured out. So let me try to open it up with Chrome if possible. We need to ask them for Excel. In this particular, we are in the remote desktop. Like in ad hoc mode. So you set it for one time, so it would show the results, and after you once you close it out, I want to change to a different gene. It will go off. That's it. I don't see any application which kind of opens this. It's not. Also opening it as a PDF so much. Let me see. There is any other application. Just ask them that you need. To be available in the remote desktop so that we can use it too. Please use the Excel file. All will be able to give you a PDF. So let me see. I'll just export those CCS so that we can actually show up on it. Not. I'm just opening it as a. So this will give you the details of this is an CSE manager. Make it is an issue, so it's an issue. But in the Excel, you give you the same view what we had. In the live scenario, these things happens like on a daily basis. I have to export. Oh, no different. So there will have some reports which will be needed, but in some cases, when we need to do some kind of segregation and see who belongs to what, that case, you can export it once again. Know what I mean. So that is all about this genius. So I'll just give you an activity today to put us into tomorrow. Just in the create a hyperfines with the competition. Let's do this. Hyperfine should be. They are blind should be active. In bless you be active. I should be active. What else I can do? I'm glad you belong to. Adidas company and Australia. Say them. So this is high date. This before. Like first to 0 to 2. So just note this down and do it like a cover session. So just to work it out, when we connect to all of the G, which are we have to play a track. The next item, one set. Next item which we are going to see is we are going to start with the setup. So let me go. And I'll start with the setup. So we have what I would bore your thought promises about and other items. So now let's start with setup. So setup. There are these many items, but there are few which is mandatory. And that is here for planting in a promised job. So one among that, like two most item, but this is just policies and attributes which are used by and I understand the promises. So to start with the close, you need to know paper. This paper is the basic one. So we'll start with the paper, this particular. What are the items which we do? We need to start with the bottom approach. From the bottom, we will go to the top. Because whatever we do here, we will map it to the next session. Whatever we do here, we'll map it to the above session. We will create something here and then we'll map it to the above. Like this is a hierarchy here. Finally, this barrel is what we will map to the device profile. So the bottom of the item we need to go through here is the paper. How, what like your whatever, what is the paper? What? What time the case and sink? Whatever the leaves or whatever the working on, what will change? Whatever it is. I think in and out is all checked based on some pay codes. If you see here, the card and take you through previous paper. Example, when an employee is piping, I know it is capturing the totals. So these are the capital even when he is piping in a mug or when he is entering a paper and ask it is coming here. So the basic step is to have these papers created. Regular or vacation or work, you will find there are a number of papers which are already created. We will see today how we create a paper. So first basic step to create a paper. You can ignore all the other items here. The first step for the bottom two that start needed first. This is definition is where we create a paper. Under play codes we have definition. Play code definition is where we create a new pay code. You can see what are the pay codes available is already here. So there are different types of pay codes available here. So to create a new pay code, you just need to click on new. I had to give a name here. So already we have created a number of pay codes. So this time I will not save it, but I will show you how I am creating it. Regular as I am doing created but me as when I was taking another session. So similar to that regular, how I am creating the regular, I am just showing you to you. So I will just give a name regular. Then short name is not needed. Then there is three different types: standard, duration and cascading. So let me stick with the standard as a normal pay code. It is just So I put our reenter as that will be. I had a code and there is no separate definition for it. It is the normal pay code, so it has three types under that. In standard for duration or cascading, we do not have any type. Only for standard, we have three types and this is the type of pay code. Like if you take any project, 95% of the pay codes will be under standard and will be using any one of these. And even under the standard, most pay code will be under house. Money and case is very rare. I will give you an idea on what is money and based on why they are using it and why house is used. Major reason. But now the regular and everything. The standard procedure to cite the options is standard and house. That means what it is, a hour-based pay code. So that is the reason you can see in our time chart. 8 tasks of regular and 8 tasks of work. These are all the totals. So for having this, because it is capturing it in-house, not in days or something. If you put 8, it means 8 tasks because this pay code is my best standard and power. Or else, if you put days, it will calculate as 8 days. So for that we pass. And we create it. And then this is a procedure of trading, standard pay code. Then we have multiplier and add. So add can be 0 for most of the aspects. I will tell you what add is, but first let me stick to multiplier. Multiplier is what determines that what rate the invite will be paid. Regular normally is going to pay the standard rate. If I work 8, I am going to get 8 hours of payment. But if you take for 1.5 for 42.0, it is a double time or 1.5 rate. So in that case, it is what you want to find. You need to give it as 1.5. If you are going to create a double time pay code and we are going to pay him a double rate for the hours, what you need to give it as 2. You got it. It is like time and a half or double. That rate here is where we will reach the minutes. And you can be with this all time and a half. Yes, some companies are using double time and you have 2.5 rate. So that is the barrier where we will be using the add multiplier. And again, what add is used Add is mostly used for maybe shift elements or on teller ones. This is standard. Like I need not to put a ass. I will just put maybe, like I will just keep your ass too. So that if an employee goes in and select the pay code and add one to his mode, automatically 2 hours or 2 hours will be paid to. So this way, not using major league. This is like this mostly. We can see here because we can achieve this, the standardization using money also. So you are clear about this. So I basically item only which you need to select standard and I will just do not save and so the pay codes which I need you to create now is 2 items. Why? Because what you want to find in other terms are already. Oh, so great point. Just create it out. I will be back in another fine, so I will just, so we can use the same. Use same software, the tool. You can use it. No, it's just because I'm giving you which the may pay codes which are not available already. This is. So we have seen standard and house and how multiplayer rates are used and all. Let me take you through what is money. So money is an area where the ad will be in place. It's like the ad is not enabled, but it's like whatever the value is put in, the amount will be paid. If you create a pay code in the name of like maybe on call and something that means if you put in this case I have put maybe here location instead of that. If I'm putting on call and I'm selecting age here, then it means it will give me a dollars. Example is a bonus. I'm going to select bonuses are kind of money figure. I'm going to put then. I'm going to say you can see automatically as well as in some money I could actually change it to colors. You're just paying the rates or the whole amount. Just do static dollars early, not the hourly wage. So that is a worth the money figure. It's just used for the allowance purposes if needed. The next item is days which we rarely use, but in some places like a close or some other places there, they might use it as days. But we need to define again. If we create it as a days into define when we are going to be a cold model, you need to define how many hours for a day. Let's say 8 hours per day and 10 hours per day. Some people can finish it. So we'll just give it a specific care, but while we're creating the actuals, this is just with respect to policy model. This will not be of use. But when we're going to actual, maybe we can export to this days option. This here will use only has some money. And next item. The duration, so it's not the same. I will be able to learn to be useful. But the cascading pay code and duration. I'll teach you will be complete a particular payroll bill. We'll go over the symbol one first, once we navigate from this to till this. Once we completed a simple payroll, then we will start with exploring the complex part of this. What is the cascading payroll? What is duration code? And even these items. What are the complex items? So first, when we create a payload, we will create a particular paper. We will select basic items from this workload. Make items work for billing work after we create a paper. So tomorrow's session is more of this work for building work. This will take maybe 1 or 2 sessions also. That's owned in a number of terms. But first, when we create a work tool, we will go over the basic items, that is over times and zones, and then we will come in a session tool, and above is paper distribution. These are landed. These two are higher on. From majorities to internal ground rules, we can pick any one and create at any time. But whatever we create here, then we need to map it to the combination tool, and the combination tool needs to be marked. They go to the station. These two have higher options. So tomorrow our major work will be on this. We'll first create a SAP basic one, and then we'll create a work rule. Then we create a payroll just by mapping this work tool. We will not achieve it here. Just create a work rule and see how it is working in the time. We'll assign it to a person and see how it is working, how it is like. You see this guy, it's calculating for the first data as a regular and then 1.5 as a work. How it is calculated. So you will have our own requirement, and then based upon that, we will create a payroll which matches that. So today, as a last part of our session, I'll first give brief intro on what payroll we are going to pay. So let me give a payroll. Name is Australian Full-Time FTE. I'm going to give it as Australian FTE. And my condition is, so if an employee is about to work Monday to Friday, Saturday and Sunday are as because so my condition is for Monday to Friday, just no term is requirement, or have a stranger once I complete it, or if an auto name is not paper and cannot be for something. So for Monday to Friday, even if an employee was first, 6 hours is regular. Six to 8 hours is 31.5. Oh, 8 this. What the 2 points here? Clear out this. This is a payroll which we are going to create on day to Friday for 6 hours. Regular 6 to 8 is what you want. 0.5 above 8 is 42.0. And let me come to this. Set it. First 3 hours is regular. 3 to 8 hours. This would be 1.5. About 8 hours is, I'll just change it as 3 to be meaningful. The 8 to 1 point. Every 6 hours is OT2 too. 3 to 6 hours on new to 1 point when I go with, and let me come to Sunday. Sunday, we will create it in a way that all the hours what are OT 2.0 clear. So this is a configuration which we are going to create. So first we will start with this particular item. Then we will try to configure. Let's keep this as a in hold. Let me keep this in a hold. Once we create a payroll, then we can add this condition later. 4. So first let's keep both Saturday and Sunday have same condition. Both the week ones have same. We will start with a simple one. Then after this, once we successfully come with this, we'll add this condition and also few more other conditions. like we have a number of items here. This workload building box, we will make sure that we put everything. What is funds wrong for? What can it do on this exception? Chorus is not V but breaks bonuses. You have a handle input, and at that time I will just include the same with the requirement. Now if I include it, it will confuse you. Let's stick with these two lines. This is the requirement which you are going to achieve. This is how the lifetime, because we'll talk to you. This is how we are creating configurations in Corals. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@therightuptalk.com.